October 27th, 1944. Vosges Mountains, France. Hauptmann Erwin Schmidt of the 716th Infantry Division watched through binoculars as American troops advanced through the pine forest below. His regiment had trapped an entire American battalion for 5 days. Now, relief forces were attacking, and Schmidt expected them to fail like the previous attempts. What confused him was these soldiers' appearance. Through the morning mist, they looked Japanese. Schmidt called to his operations officer, Oberleutnant Klaus Weber. "The Americans are using Japanese troops against us. This makes no sense. Japan is their enemy." Weber studied the advancing formations with alarm. "Those are American citizens of Japanese descent, Herr Hauptmann." Nisei, "I read intelligence reports. They volunteered from prison camps where Roosevelt imprisoned their entire community after Pearl Harbor." Schmidt lowered his binoculars. "You are telling me America imprisoned these men's families, then asked them to fight, and they agreed?" "Ja, Herr Hauptmann, and they fight with fanatical determination. We should request reinforcements." Schmidt laughed. "They are prisoners fighting for their jailers. They will collapse. Prepare to annihilate them." Within 6 hours, Schmidt would be calling desperately for reinforcements that would never arrive. The 442nd Regimental Combat Team, composed entirely of Japanese-American volunteers fighting while their families lived behind barbed wire, was about to shatter German lines and Nazi racial theories simultaneously. These soldiers would become the most decorated unit in American military history, earning 18,143 individual decorations in just 20 months of combat. The story began with barbed wire and guard towers. On February 19, 1942, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, authorizing the forced removal of 120,000 Japanese Americans from the West Coast. Families received 1 week to sell homes, businesses, and possessions. They were permitted 1 suitcase each. Everything else, gone. 10 camps were built in America's most desolate locations: Manzanar, Topaz, Minidoka, Heart Mountain, Tule Lake. Tar paper shacks surrounded by barbed wire and guard towers, housing American citizens whose only crime was their ancestry. Armed guards in towers, machine guns pointing inward. Into this betrayal came an announcement that defied comprehension. In January 1943, the War Department declared Japanese American men eligible for military service. The government that had declared them too dangerous to live freely now asked them to die for American freedom. The response split the community. Some refused, asking why they should fight for a country that treated them as enemies, but others saw military service as the only path to prove their loyalty. From the mainland camps, despite the barbed wire, 1,200 men volunteered immediately. They became the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, adopting the motto, "Go for broke." They trained at Camp Shelby, Mississippi, facing discrimination and skepticism. Most were small, averaging 5 feet 5 inches and 125 pounds. Their families remained in camps, writing censored letters, living behind barbed wire while their sons trained for war. The 442nd deployed to Italy in May 1944. Their first major action came at Belvedere on June 26th, assaulting heavily fortified German positions. German defenders were shocked by the ferocity. The Nisei soldiers advanced without regard for casualties, closing with German positions in savage hand-to-hand fighting. They took the objective in 4 hours, a position that had held for weeks. Oberst Heinrich Bauer reported to headquarters with confusion. "The new American troops fight like Japanese Imperial Army, with total disregard for death. But they are American citizens. We inflicted 40% casualties, yet they continued attacking. This is unprecedented." German intelligence struggled to understand. Nazi racial theory declared Japanese inferior to Germans, but possessing warrior spirit lacking in Americans. Yet these Japanese Americans fought with American equipment while demonstrating determination, Nazi ideology attributed only to Aryans. The contradiction was impossible to reconcile. Throughout the Italian campaign, the 442nd earned a fearsome reputation. German units began requesting transfers to other sectors. One captured lieutenant told interrogators, "We would rather face regular American divisions. The Japanese Americans pay any price to advance. Fighting them is fighting death itself." In 5 months of Italian combat, the 442nd suffered 1,272 casualties, 3 times higher than typical American units. But they took every objective. They never retreated. Each casualty was a man fighting for a country that imprisoned his family. Then came the Vosges Mountains. On October 15th, 1944, the 442nd was transferred to France, assigned to rescue the lost battalion, 275 men trapped behind German lines. Previous rescue attempts had failed with heavy casualties. The 442nd had 800 men available. To reach the trapped battalion, they would advance through 6 miles of German-held forest against 6,000 defenders. Staff officers calculated 60% casualties as optimistic. The attack began at dawn on October 27th. German defenders unleashed devastating fire. The 442nd advanced anyway, squad by squad, paying for each 100 yards with casualties. They didn't stop because they couldn't. Everything they were fighting to prove depended on this moment. Private First Class Sadao Munemori saw a German grenade land among his squad. Without hesitation, he threw himself on it, absorbing the blast with his body. He saved 2 lives and died instantly. His family was still imprisoned at Manzanar. He would posthumously receive the Medal of Honor, though not until 2000, when a review board discovered discrimination had prevented proper recognition. The battle raged for 6 days. Entire companies were reduced to platoon strength. Still they advanced. On November 2nd, elements of the 442nd reached the lost battalion's perimeter. They had accomplished the impossible. Of 800 men who began the assault, 216 were killed or wounded. They had suffered more casualties than the 275 men they rescued. But they had succeeded where 3 previous attempts failed. The German 716th Infantry Division's after-action report, captured in 1945, contained a remarkable assessment. The Japanese-American troops fought with discipline exceeding regular American forces and determination exceeding Japanese Imperial Army standards. They combined American firepower with warrior spirit. Against such troops, defensive positions provide no advantage. They will pay any price to advance. By war's end, the 442nd had compiled the most extraordinary combat record of any American unit. In 20 months of combat, they earned 18,143 individual decorations, including 21 Medals of Honor, 52 Distinguished Service Crosses, 560 Silver Stars, 4,000 Bronze Stars, and 9,486 Purple Hearts. They suffered a casualty rate of 314%, meaning the unit was completely replaced 3 times. These decorations were earned while their families lived behind barbed wire. Staff Sergeant Kazuo Masuda received word that his father had died at Gila River internment camp, denied proper medical care. Masuda continued fighting, earning the Distinguished Service Cross before being killed in action. His family was still imprisoned when his body returned home. German prisoners captured by the 442nd experienced profound cognitive dissonance. Many had been indoctrinated in Nazi racial theory, declaring Asians inferior. Yet they had been defeated by Japanese-American soldiers who fought with skill and courage exceeding anything they had experienced. Some refused to believe these troops were American. One captured officer from the 716th Division, interviewed at a POW camp, admitted the contradiction destroyed his faith in Nazi teachings. We were told Americans were weak, that Japanese were inferior to Germans. Then we fought Japanese Americans who were stronger than us, braver than us, and they were fighting for a nation that imprisoned their families. This loyalty, while suffering such injustice, we could not understand. It proved everything we believed was wrong. Senator Daniel Inouye, who lost his arm fighting with the 442nd, recalled returning home in uniform attempting to get a haircut in California. The barber said, "We don't cut Jap hair." The sergeant who had earned the Distinguished Service Cross was refused service in the country he had nearly died defending, but slowly the record of the 442nd forced recognition. In 1988, President Reagan signed the Civil Liberties Act, apologizing for internment. In 2000, President Clinton presented the Medal of Honor to 22 Asian American veterans whose heroism had been denied by discrimination, 21 from the 442nd. In 2010, Congress awarded the Congressional Gold Medal to the 442nd, recognizing them as the most decorated unit for their size in American history. The story of the 442nd reveals something profound. These men, stripped of their rights, imprisoned without trial, nevertheless volunteered to fight for the ideals America claimed to represent. They believed in America even when America did not believe in them. They proved their loyalty when loyalty should not have been questioned. The German soldiers who fought them learned that Nazi racial theories were lies. The American citizens who imprisoned their families learned that prejudice was wrong. The Nisei soldiers of the 442nd chose to believe in America's promise even when America betrayed them. They went for broke, risking everything, and in doing so, they won not just battles, but the vindication of their identity as Americans. Their families' imprisonment was a stain on American honor. The soldiers' service was its redemption,